been an interesting process, and my nerves are definitely standing up on end because of that.
Okay. Let's talk about the intrigued part. What intrigues you about this process?
Mostly since I had never really heard anything about it, no one's ever really told me about it, so simply stepping into a new environment has always been an interest to me, and I've always been a little outgoing and wanting to try new things.
Okay. When you say you don't really know anything about it, when you say about it, do you mean the criminal process or this case in particular?
Both.
Both. Okay. So you have no knowledge of how the criminal justice process works, and you also have. I'm looking at your questionnaire, and I'm just assuming, based on your responses, that you have no knowledge about the criminal. I'm sorry, about this case either.
I had no knowledge about this case or the criminal case either.
Okay. I also see that someone close to you, someone you know, has been through a divorce.
Yes.
All right.
Actually, a number of people. Most of my family has gone through divorces on a number of occasions.
Okay. Were any of those particularly contentious? Contentious, ugly, nasty?
One was a little ripe.
Okay. I get it. And I am looking also that you have, it says, other than work scheduled on a weekly basis. Tell me about the work scheduled on a weekly basis you have.
I work over at the Terra Theater on Cheshire Bridge, and we only get our schedules a week in advance, and so I'm not really sure when they would schedule me. As for my other job, I work as a nanny, and I usually work Monday through Friday from about 7 in the morning, and then she does not have school until almost 5 in the evening. But every now and then that'll change based on her older siblings' schedules as well.
Okay. Let's talk about, I guess, the nanny situation, the nanny job. How often do you do that job?
Every week.
Every week.
He actually called me last night. He had an auxiliary nanny to step in when I was not available. However, apparently she must have done something because she is no longer employed by him.
Yeah.
So we're now looking for a second nanny as well.
Well, this trial may run as long as 3 weeks. Can't tell, but maybe long as 3 weeks. If that were in fact the case, how would that affect your employment situation?
He is very understanding, and he trusts that I do have some friends who could step in after he interviews them, and we'll figure out if he can trust them. I know there's one person in particular that I know that he would like to meet, but as for if he's going to include them, I'm not sure with him.
Your other job, is that a night job?
Yes, sir. It's 6 to 11.
6
or 12:15, which is the next one.
Okay. And so if you're able to get out of here at a reasonable hour, you can still go there?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. Thank you.
Yes, Journal 46, just 1 or 2 questions. In your responsibilities as a nanny, are you working for one family?
One family, yes, sir.
Okay, and how long have you been with that family?
I've been with them since right before their school let out, so let's see, what month is it now? July?
May?
I want to say about May, like the end of May is when they,
Okay, and how large is the family?
there are 4 kids, 16, 12, 10, and 4.
Okay, and your responsibilities as a nanny, I think most of us probably have a pretty good idea of what those are, but just tell us, day in, day out, what do you do?
Well, I try to make sure the kids are safe, and they are entertained and happy, as well as I am currently trying to help teach the youngest how to read and write and do basic arithmetic.
Okay, do the mom and the dad live together in the family?
Yes, sir, they do.
And are both of them employed?
Yes, sir.
Are they employed full-time?
Yes.
Do they ever have occasion to work late hours?
Not that I have experienced so far, at least with the father. The mother occasionally will have later hours.
Okay. And is there a particular time of day when they try to spend time with the kids?
Unfortunately, that is not until the evenings around dinner time.
Okay. And I apologize, I was not sure if you were selected to sit on this jury. Obviously, you could not do that. is that something that would affect your ability to focus and concentrate on the evidence?
As in, if I knew the kids were.
Obviously, you can't be both, you can't be at their house and you can't be here at the same
Oh,
time.
yeah.
Okay. Is that going to present a big problem to you?
Unless, if we find a substitute nanny, which I believe he probably will, it should not be that huge of an issue.
Okay. And again, Mr. James did ask you about the possibility of being, or you were intrigued by the possibility of being a jury. Do you want to be a juror?
I think it would be an interesting experience. I'm not sure how I feel about holding someone's possible future in my hands, but seeing how the court system works is of interest to me.
Okay. And you understand, as a juror, you're not responsible for making any sort of determination as to what might happen to an individual. You're just here to judge whether or not the state has proven beyond a reasonable doubt all of the allegations.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. And have you ever had occasion to come to court for any purpose whatsoever in the past?
This is my first time, other than yesterday and Friday, ever stepping inside of a courthouse.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I do appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right, juror number 46, following the instruction of the clerk, thank you very much. State position,
I believe he's a qualified juror, Judge.
defense,
I concur, Your Honor.
qualified. 46. 47 should be next, lawyers. Come on in and stand right there, young lady, number 47. She's with you, Mr. James.
Ma'am, I believe you indicated that you have some sort of conflict or hardship.
Yes, not a hardship, a conflict. I'm going out of state next week.
Okay. Where are you going?
To Delaware and to Pennsylvania.
Okay. Any particular reason?
Vacation and a friend's wedding next Saturday.
And a friend's wedding next Saturday. When are you leaving to go out of town?
Tuesday,
Tuesday. When
the
is the?
6th.
Okay, and the wedding is Saturday.
Yes,
Okay. Are these prepaid plane tickets?
I'm driving.
You're driving. Okay. All right.
Are you in the wedding? Or you just?
No, I'm just attending. It's my
Are you
friend.
bridesmaid?
No, I'm just,
And you're
in
not
all.
You're not bride.
No. I'm not correct.
Are you giving a toast?
I will just be in.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. I believe you also indicated that you have someone close to you that has been through a divorce.
Oh, well, I guess the closest relative. One of my friends that I work with at CDC recently got divorced.
Okay. Did you talk with, is it a he or a she?
This is she.
Did you talk with her about it?
Only sort of surface conversations. It was sort of, I guess, a mismatch of personalities into that.
Okay. You were asked, do you have, on a questionnaire, do you have any strong feelings or opinions, positive or negative, about the criminal justice system? You said, no, although I lean toward it not being applied equally depending on race. Can you give me an explanation, or expound rather, not an explanation, but just sort of give us more?
Well, I guess with some of, with the drug laws that are happening, with, I guess, difference between penalties you get for crack versus cocaine, and how that sort of negatively impacts the amount of time African Americans get sentenced to in the criminal justice system. And then with sort of, getting a jury of their peers, it's not likely that African Americans tend to get a jury of their peers.
Okay. Now, in this case, the defendant is Caucasian. Is that going to affect your ability
No.
to sit as a fair and impartial juror?
Yeah.
You don't have any problem with that, do you?
No.
Okay. Do you have any religious, moral, or ethical convictions that would affect your ability to pass judgment on the defendant? You said no, but I would prefer not to do the death penalty. You know that that's not an option or an
just
issue in this case.
In general. Well, no, I did not know that
Okay.
prior to, I guess, I guess Monday or whatever, and I heard on the news that they changed the charge. That's all I saw. But no, I did not know that prior to filling that out, but I don't want to do that.
Okay,
on this case already.
so given that this is not a death penalty case, is it safe to assume that you wouldn't have any issues rendering a verdict based
No.
on the facts and the law and the evidence?
That'd be fine.
Okay. I also see that you have seen some media coverage about this case as well.
Yes.
Okay. Tell us, first of all, tell us when you saw it.
I watch the news when I get dressed in the morning,
Okay.
so it would have been there.
Okay. And what did you see?
I guess this would have been, a while back when everything sort of first happened. And it was talking about the guy, Hemi Newman, and her, and Rusty Sneiderman, and sort of, he was murdered by the guy, and then it suggested that perhaps she was involved somehow. But that's the only part, just whatever's played on the news in the morning.
And that's all you've heard?
And then this past Monday, when I was getting dressed, because I watched the news while I'm getting dressed, I saw that the charges were changed, but then I changed the channel, so that.
Okay. As you sit here today, is that all that you've heard in terms of the media coverage about this case?
I think I've heard, and I wrote this down there, I guess it was back a while ago, when perhaps there was an issue with the grandkids not being able to see the grandparents.
And you heard that as well?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Anything else that you can think of?
No, it's not something I paid particular attention to unless it was on the news.
Okay. Is there anything about what you've heard, all right, that would affect your ability to sit as a fair and impartial juror in this case?
No, not really.
Have you formed any opinion about the guilt or innocence of the defendant?
No, I didn't know anything about the charges that the judge read on, I guess, Tuesday, Monday, so
Oh.
not familiar with any of that.
Okay. And you and I go to the same church, right?
We did.
All right. Which side do you sit on?
Like the front middle.
The front middle?
Yeah, he's like the fifth row behind the deacons.
Okay, all right. Is there anything about that? Well, let me start here. We don't know each other particularly.
No, we've never spoken before. I think you spoke one time when other, leaders in DeKalb County spoke. It must have been when people were giving our pastor plaques or
Yeah.
something.
And it's a large church, correct?
Yeah, it's a very large church, 2 services.
Couple thousand people.
I don't know how many, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's up front.
Is there anything about the fact that you and I attend the same church, even though we don't know each other, that would affect your ability to sit as a fair and impartial juror?
No, I don't usually see it.
All right. Thank you.
Mr. Morgan?
Thank you. Is Dr. Hale still your pastor?
She is.
Please give her my regards.
What's your name?
That's a good
We're
call.
not having dialogue.
I want to explore more about the trip you have planned. It looks like you're returning home. Are you from that area of the country, Delaware,
Yeah, from
Pennsylvania?
Delaware.
Okay. Did your job at the CDC bring you here?
Yes, it did. Mhm.
Okay. And are you traveling alone?
That's tentative. I have an aunt that lives in North Carolina, and I'm going to offer to her that she can ride up back home with me so she can visit family as well. But I haven't yet reached out to her. And
All
so
right.
if she doesn't go, then yes, I'll be driving alone.
Okay, so she's not, at this point, she's not dependent on you for transportation either to or from the wedding.
Correct.
Okay. And we need to explore it. How close a friend is this getting married? Is this someone you feel very close to, even though you're
Yeah,
not
it's a buddy
in the wedding?
from college, and we've maintained a close relationship ever since. This is undergrad college, not graduate school college.
Okay, and you went to Temple undergrad?
I did.
And you got your MPH at George Washington?
I did.
Okay. Let me ask you a little bit. So you've had a lot of science background.
No,
What was your undergrad before
it
getting
was
your
in
MPH?
biology.
Okay, well, that's, for those of us in accounting, biology would be a science background.
Well, no, I understand it's science. I
Yeah.
guess I didn't consider it
Okay,
to be a biology. Sorry.
and your job at the CDC with it's in the arthritis division,
Yeah,
people?
I'm in the arthritis program.
Okay. And so when you're working with these individuals, you have to look at evidence and make a determination, is that correct?
No, that's not what I do at the CDC.
Okay, what do you do at CDC?
I work with some of the partners we fund. We fund 12 states and a few national organizations, the Arthritis Foundation, National Association for Athletic Trainers, YMCA of America. We have evidence-based programs that are already approved by our program that we want these states or organizations to implement. We give them money to do so, and then we provide technical assistance in them carrying out their activities.
Okay, so you're not in part of the evidence
No.
determination? Okay.
That's already.
But you understand coming into this court, your decision is based on the evidence?
Yes.
Right. And, by the way, on the crack versus powder cocaine laws, that's not applicable in state law, that's a federal law.
Right, but it's still case.
Okay. And that the defendant in this case is Caucasian, and no telling how the jury determines black, white, orange, green, you will be able to sit and make a fair determination.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with Caucasian people. I work with a lot, I know a lot. I'm friends with some, I guess it's funny.
Okay.
So I don't have it, but I do feel like the justice system isn't necessarily beneficial or in favor of minorities, particularly African American men.
Okay, I understand that, but in this case, race certainly
No,
doesn't
he's a
agree.
white man, he's not a black man, so it's
Okay,
not the same.
thank you very much.
Thank you. Please call the instruction of the clerk. State's position.
I believe she's a qualified juror.
Defense. We agree, Judge. Qualified. 47. Should be next, Lori. You may proceed.
Ma'am, you live in Norcross?
Yes, I physically live in Norcross.
Okay, where exactly is your residence?
It's on Jimmy Carter.
Okay, so is your address in Gwinnett or is your address in DeKalb?
My mailing address is in DeKalb.
Okay, but you don't live in DeKalb?
No,
Okay.
Lawyers approach. James, any other questions?
No, sir.
Mr. Clegg, this your witness?
That's mine, Your Honor. No questions.
You may follow the instructions of the clerk. State's position.
Pursuant to established law, I do not believe she is qualified, Your Honor.
We agree, Your Honor.
You will remove the cause. Oh, did I ask the other day, they want to still live in the cab?
Yes, sir, you did. You did.
I thought I had notes for that.
And Ms. McCombie told me she asked for that on Friday as well.
That's fine.
You certainly did.
Which is okay. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Juror number 49, when you answered one of the judge's questions yesterday, you said that you recognized somebody in the courtroom or one of the other jurors?
Yes, I did.
Okay, who is that?
Mr. James.
Mr. James? Okay. And do you know Mr. James personally, or did you just recognize his face?
No, I do not know him. I saw him on television.
Okay. Is there anything about having seen Mr. James on television before that you think might impact your ability to be a fair juror for the state and for the defense if you were a juror in this case? Okay. All right. And you have heard something about this case before you came in on Friday, is that right?
Yes, I have heard something about it.
Okay, what have you heard?
Really, I don't remember. It's, I think it started back in 2010, and I heard some things, but I didn't follow up on any of it. So
Okay.
I don't really know a whole lot about the case.
Okay, all right. You haven't been following it closely at all?
No.
Okay. Do you have any opinions about the case one way or the other, based on even the little that you know?
No.
Okay. Any reason, based on anything you've heard before, that you couldn't be a fair juror in this case?
Yeah, no.
Okay. You had some ambivalent feelings, or you weren't sure about the criminal justice system being fair to everybody. Can you tell me your thoughts or your feelings about that?
Well, you know, I've been around as long as I have been. I've heard and seen things that happen in the judiciary system, and, you know, judging from what I'm saying is that sometimes you think it's right, sometimes you think it's wrong, but it's just an opinion.
Yeah.
No more than just an opinion.
Okay. Is that a general impression of kind of different cases you've seen, or is there one case in particular in DeKalb County that that you were concerned about?
No.
Okay. Do you think that if you were a juror in this case, you could kind of set whatever general opinions or impressions you have aside and just base your decision on the evidence that you hear in court?
Yeah.
Do you think you'd be able to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any concerns about your ability to do that?
No.
Okay. All right. And your husband was a career Army officer?
Non-sufficient officer, NCO.
NCO?
Yeah.
For about 25, he was an E7?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Did you all travel around quite a bit?
Yes, I did. My home was Texas.
Uh-huh.
Left Texas, went to Alabama. Left Alabama, went to overseas, stayed there for 3 years, and 79, we moved back to Georgia,
Mhm.
Atlanta.
All right. Okay, thank you so much.
Ms. Pickett, Ms. Wood,
Yes, Your Honor. You have sat on a jury previously, correct, ma'am?
Yes,
Was that in state court or federal court?
I think it was state back.
Okay, and it was a racketeering case?
Yes, it was.
Was that here in DeKalb County?
Yes.
And how long ago would that have been?
I don't remember, but it's been a long time ago.
Okay.
At least 10 years.
10 years or so ago?
Yeah.
Okay. And understanding that the charge was racketeering, were there other specific crimes that were alleged?
No.
Okay. How long did the trial take?
That trial lasted for maybe no longer than 2 weeks.
1 or 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Okay. Were any of the individuals who are seated at either counsel table involved in that particular trial, if you recall?
No.
Okay. And you have seen Mr. James on TV, but other than that, you are not familiar with any of us. Is that correct?
No, I'm not.
Okay. The trial that you sat on, was the jury able to, in fact, reach a verdict?
Yeah.
Okay. And were you the foreperson by any chance?
No.
Other than that, have you ever had to come to court for any reason whatsoever, ma'am?
But yeah, once my son, Stephen, got a ticket, and I went to court to see the judge, with him before the judge, and
When you say a ticket, do you mean a traffic ticket?
traffic ticket, I'm sorry.
Okay. Looking at your background, you had indicated that you have experience or knowledge of, were you a school teacher at some point?
I'm a paraprofessional for the DeKalb County School System.
Okay. How long did you do that for?
About 2 years in DeKalb County, and then I worked in schools overseas.
Okay. You also indicated you had some experience or perhaps knowledge of banking and finance. Have you worked in that field?
Yes, I work for Staffmart Staffing Agency, and they have like contracts with the bank, and I work for Bank America.
And again, if I understand correctly, you do not know enough about this particular case to have any sort of fixed opinion one way or the other. Okay. You could keep a fair and open mind during the course of this trial if you were selected to sit as a juror. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
you can follow the instruction of the clerk. That clerk.
Okay.
Thank you. State's position.
Say has no objection to this jury, Your Honor.
Defense.
We agree, Your Honor.
Qualified. Number 50 is next.
Juror 50. I want to follow up on a couple questions from your questionnaire. You go to the Union Mission Baptist Church? Union Missionary, thank you. And how long have you been a member there?
Since 1964.
All right. You are personally divorced, is that right?
Personally divorced.
You were divorced. You yourself. The question was kind of broad, but have you been divorced?
Not really.
Okay. Do you know someone who has been divorced or are close to
My
someone?
daughter.
Your daughter, okay. And how long ago was that?
In 2006, I believe.
Okay. Was there, and I know you have a grandchild or several grandchildren, was that divorce, was it particularly difficult or contentious? Was it drawn out?
No.
Okay. Is this the first time you've been called for jury duty?
Call for jury duty? No, but to be, what you call it, sequestered?
Made it this far? Yeah. All right. Have you ever participated in any other court case? Anything ever had to come to court for anything other than jury duty? Okay. Never a witness for anything or anything like that? Okay. Your answer to a question about your feelings about the criminal justice system in general, it was something like, sometimes I feel good about it, sometimes I feel it's not fair.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about how you reached that conclusion or what your impressions are about the criminal justice system?
Well, I haven't really dealt with them personally,
Uh-huh.
but just listening at news and listening at things and forming my own opinion of something.
Has there been a particular case or just in general that's
Just
your
in
impression?
general.
Okay. Do you have a particular opinion about the criminal justice system in DeKalb County?
No.
Okay. Is there anything about those general opinions or kind of general impressions you have that would you think impact you if you were a juror on a criminal case? Okay. Not one way or the other? Okay. You raised your card yesterday when you were asked about someone close to you or being around someone who has had a mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And without looking to pry, can you tell me who that person is to you?
He was my uncle.
Okay. Was there a diagnosis for your uncle that you know of?
At the time, I wouldn't know.
Okay. Was it, you were much
I was younger.
younger? Okay. Do you have any personal memory of your uncle's behavior that struck you as, okay, what kind of behavior did you?
He was, I want to say mild, he was retarded, that's what I want to say, because
Okay.
that's what it was said.
That was then, yeah, yeah.
And he couldn't talk, or he was just someone that just maybe sit in the floor and played,
Okay.
or went through some changes, you know,
Yeah.
physically and verbally, just hollering like, you know. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Was his condition, was it consistent, meaning every time you saw him, it was the same? Okay. All right. Okay, thank you so much.
Morgan.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a few follow-up questions. You grew up here in DeKalb County? And where'd you go to high school?
Okay. And in your juror questionnaire, you list 3 names of individuals who live with you. Are those roommates or those relatives?
One of them is my son and one of them is a good friend.
Okay. All right. And again, I just want to follow up on the question about sometimes you think the system is not fair, but you believe you can be a fair juror in this case. And you know very little of anything about this case, is that correct?
Very little of anything.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. No further questions.
You can follow the instruction of the clerk. Thank you. State's position,
State has no objection to this juror.
defense,
Qualified, Judge.
juror number 50 be qualified. All right, lawyers, at this point in time, those are the, if I count, some other questionnaires, at least for that batch, those are the individuals who came back from yesterday. Actually, the time estimate was pretty good. What I'm gonna do is give you a brief break, and I concur with the clerk. And then, well, actually, let me confer with you first, make sure we're on the same page, then I'm gonna give you a brief break before I bring them into the instruction. Come on, lawyers, and bring your notes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, what's going to take place now? Those individuals we brought back for the morning session, I'm going to bring them in momentarily, and we're going to give them their instruction on those ones who, quote unquote, have been qualified, and they will report back at 1:30. The court will remain open as it did yesterday, and everyone will have full access as they did yesterday. However, those individuals on this side of the courtroom, you have to move to that side. You don't have to leave, you just have to move to this side. You are not being put out. You weren't put out yesterday either. You're not being put out today. No one's being put out. They weren't put out yesterday either. But the seats are going to be, the defense lawyers have identified, I believe they need at least 4 seats. Family members of the state have identified 4. They just have the priority. And as yesterday, the press had a seat. But neither here nor there,